folks. This is Michael White, and
Hello, Valerie Covington.
we're coming to you from the first round of the Solomon debates. And it was quite a debate.
Yes, it was.
There was Cicely Tyson, the School of Performing Arts,
Yes.
and Boys and Girls High School from Brooklyn, an interstate debate between two schools. And we found out that it was a debate that was to center around Bill Cosby and Michael Eric Dyson.
Yes.
And both of their books were the subjects that were on the table.
Yes,
Now, Valerie,
yes.
when you first came to the debate, what was the thing that impressed you most?
I think what impressed me the most is the fact that we have 6 students from Brooklyn, New York, along with their coach and another member of Boys and Girls High School in Brooklyn. I mean, the kids came with so much pride, even though they had to go up against all of Cicely Tyson in East Orange, New Jersey.
Yeah, and you know, the thing that's interesting about it is that these youngsters hadn't debated previously.
Right.
They did research, and the amount of research was staggering for these youngsters. But when they stepped on the stage, they handled themselves quite professionally.
Yes, they did.
You know, one of the things that impressed me was the opening remarks of both of the schools.
Yes.
And what I'd like to do is just, let's take a look at that first round.
Okay.
Okay, you guys ready? That doesn't sound like you guys are ready. You guys ready? All right. Let's kick this off. So, live from Cicely Tyson School of Performing and Fine Arts, it's the Solomon Debates. Give yourselves a round of applause. Okay, featuring the first interstate debate between two urban schools. The first debate between two interstate schools, okay? The host team being Cicely Tyson School of Performing and Fine Arts, and the visiting team, Boys and Girls High of Brooklyn, New York. Give yourselves a round of applause. This is a Yanks Group production in cooperation with the Solomon Project. And with that being said, we wish to thank some of those people who made this possible. Soul Pop, Vision Media, Paradise Transportation, Downtown Printing, The Village Diner, the Mayor of East Orange, New Jersey, Robert Bowser, and his aide, Troy Webster. And last, but by no means least, the wonderful Cicely Tyson School of Performing and Fine Arts.
Resolved. We, the affirmative of Boys and Girls in High School, clearly believe that Bill Cosby is right. According to Michael Eric Dyson, he believes that Bill Cosby rather used corporal punishment as opposed to discipline. First, we must know the difference between the two. Corporal punishment is a form of physical abuse, and it can also be deliberate pain to a child. It can also be mental punishment. Discipline is the practice of training one to obey rules or a code of behavior using punishment to correct disobedience. In parenthood, you have to know the difference between the two. What seemed to be corporal punishment led to capital punishment. It led to the death of Nix Marie Brown, a 7-year-old that was beaten to death by her parents. What could a 7-year-old possibly have done wrong to get this kind of treatment? To have her head banged against the faucet in the bathtub. To be neglected, tied to a chair, and fed cat food by her own parents. So much for good parents. Speaking of good parents, maybe we should define one. A good parent is one who teaches their child right from wrong, who is there every step of the way for their child until they reach adulthood. One who could go 3 days without eating as long as their child is provided a meal. One who enforces education and loves their child unconditionally. One who keeps their child away from harm. Bill Cosby He favored discipline. He used discipline with his son. His son was continuously lying to him, and he used discipline to show his son that it's not a good thing to lie. So after that day, his son never lied to him. So yeah, discipline is completely different from corporal punishment. And one case would be in the school system. At school, if two kids get into a fight, discipline would be for them to have suspension. Corporal punishment could be mental, so the principal could tell the kids that they're idiots. So, Bill Cosby was in favor for discipline. That's it.
Time. How many? 2 minutes, 34 seconds. Please note. Now, the negative argument will be presented by Maya Woods.
Resolved. Solomon deserves a moderate form of punishment that shows empathy and parental tolerance due to the circumstances under which his actions occurred. Moderate punishment, an approach proposed by Princeton University graduate, scholar, and author Michael Eric Dyson, is best because through empathy and communication, you can connect with the child's issues or behavioral errors and provide correction that is not damaging to the child. Empathy is a good thing because it demonstrates concern and understanding for the issues of which the child is facing. As an intellectual student, when asked to analyze Solomon's adventures, I assessed the obvious. I assessed the obvious, the environment which Solomon lived in, much like East Orange, where I'm from, and the influence that drove him to run away from home, which was materialism, an issue that myself and my peers face on a day-to-day basis. And I concluded within this that Bill Cosby's tough love concept is not only inconsequential in terms of Solomon's issues, but also ignorantly stimulated by Cosby's personal views on poor Black America. In May 2004, at a gala celebrating the 15th anniversary of the Brown versus Board education decision, Bill Cosby bitterly and visibly crusaded against the declining morality and bad behavior of poor Blacks, attacking the Black poor for their horrible education, their style of dress, the names they give their children, their backward speech and their consumptive habits, berating Black parents and youth for their numerous faults. As a cruel coda, Cosby suggests that the Black poor that God is tired of you. The Black poor, also noted as the ghettoocracy in Michael Eric Dyson's book, Is Bill Cosby Right?, consists of the unemployed and underemployed, those trapped in the underground economies, and those working poor folks who slave in menial jobs at the edge of the economy. The ghettoocracy is composed of single mothers on welfare, singing working mothers and fathers, poor fathers, married poor, and working folks, the incarcerated and the battalion of impoverished children. Solomon was a boy in search of a better life. He was unhappy about his poverty and the environment which he lived in. Solomon is considered a part of the Black poor. Bill Cosby's statements expose his cultural disconnect towards the African-American urban society and are ill-informed on the critical and complex issues that shaped Solomon in his family's life. Furthermore, his outlook on parenting and punishment cannot be taken into consideration. Bill Cosby, as an aristocrat, meaning an African-American who is an aristocrat, looked down on his own culture, blaming the lack of parental guidance exemplified by the Black poor community, yet inconsiderately avoided the realisms of social, racial, and economic forces that affect my culture on an infinite basis. If Mr. Cosby was here today, I would inform him that all issues and oppressions affecting the poor Blacks is not entirely their fault. Given so that as African Americans, we are expected and desired to fail in society. These drugs in our community aren't imported in this country by us. The liquor stores in our community aren't owned by us. Malcolm X, a leader who personally inspires me, stated, "The white man makes the whiskey and puts you in jail for getting drunk. He sells you the cards and the dice and puts you in jail when he catches you using them." According to Bill Cosby, author of Fatherhood, parents are responsible for teaching moral behaviors, but what happens when the proper mean of communication is not utilized to help the child, avoiding the situations negatively? What happens to the child living in the ghetto that has to deal with society's harsh realisms and their voice is lost due to the forms of punishment that silences them, like Solomon? Cosby's viewpoint on tough love and fatherhood lacks an opportunity for the child's point of view to be seen and heard, thus causing internal conflict and emotional instability. Empathy is a good thing because the method of behavioral correction becomes relevant and appropriate as opposed to the extreme and unnecessary. To give Solomon tough love for acting on his frustrations is not the best method of punishment for him. For him to be left to deal with his issues and not have it addressed creates a pressure and it creates building points. According to the publication of the National Council of Family Relations, the presence of empathy in parenting has been tied to numerous positive behaviors such as helpfulness. Empathy has also been shown to have a profound impact on interpersonal relations. The absence of empathy in parenting can have a serious effect on the child's self-development and psychological health. Cosby's viewpoint on tough love and fatherhood lacks the opportunity for the child's point of view to be seen and heard. To further support this argument, we can evaluate the lives of Cosby's two daughters as an example of tough love. Aaron was his younger daughter who sought love and attention from her absent father. Instead of communicating with his daughter in order to understand her actions, Cosby turned his back on her and called it tough love. This tough love pushed her away, and she eventually became a victim of the same immoral behaviors that Cosby identifies as problems of today's African American urban families. This problem was drug abuse. Autumn Jackson, Cosby's illegitimate daughter, had an unproductive adulthood of failures and subsequently criminal persecutions for extortion. In all, I would like to close with a quote. Empathy is not simply a matter of trying to imagine what others are going through, but having the will to muster enough courage to do something about it. In a way, empathy can be predicted upon hope. This quote is by Professor Cornel West of Princeton University. Thank you very much.